You know how in every town there's those businesses, like you see their signs everywhere, and people just sort of know, oh yeah, they're good, they're solid.
Yeah, they've been around.
Yeah, exactly, the reliable ones.
Yeah.
So in Knoxville, Chattanooga, East Ridge, Tennessee, even over in Marietta, Georgia,
Right.
that name, a lot of times, is Ted Foster and Foster Electric.
I see.
And we've actually managed to round up a really interesting bunch of information about Ted himself.
Oh, cool.
And the ideas that he kind of used to build up this company.
Interesting.
So think of this as like a crash course
Okay.
in what makes a local service business not just, stay afloat, but really become like a trusted name for so many people.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? Because we see so many come and go,
Exactly, yeah.
especially those service-based ones. It's like, how do you get that staying power?
Right.
And what's really interesting from what we've got here is that it's not just about being, a slick marketer or just being lucky enough to be in the right spot at the right time.
Right.
There's an actual philosophy, a deliberate way of thinking that Ted Foster and Foster Electric have used.
That's so interesting, yeah.
So today we're going to dig into that, right? We want to uncover what are those key elements of his vision?
Yeah.
And how do those translate to like consistently good, high quality electrical services that benefit, the everyday person?
Exactly, yeah.
So the big question for us to kind of poke at today is, what are the core principles we can learn from this guy's journey
Right.
in building up this business that's so well respected?
Okay, so let's dive in right into the deep end.
Let's do it.
It seems like early on in Ted Foster's career, he had this, light bulb moment, an aha moment.
Right.
The sources call it that.
The classic aha moment. Love that.
I know. He was working for, some bigger electrical companies at the time.
Okay, so he's already in the field, getting some experience.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing how things work.
Uh-huh.
But he started to realize something. As these companies got bigger, the level of service, the actual attention to each customer seemed to drop.
Interesting.
Have you ever felt that, like you're just a number on a work order?
Oh, yeah, totally. You're just another ticket to be closed out.
Exactly. And it sounds like Ted was seeing that, but like on a bigger scale.
Right. So it's not just you feeling that way. It's like a systemic thing.
Right. Yeah.
And that is such a crucial observation point because a lot of times, the push for someone to start their own thing, their own business,
Yeah.
it comes from seeing a problem that no one's really solving.
Right.
And for Ted Foster, it wasn't that these big companies were necessarily bad at the electrical work itself.
Mm-hmm.
It was more that the whole experience for the customer was kind of,
Lacking that personal touch.
fading. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that personal touch, the attention to detail, that feeling that you matter to them.
Right. Yeah.
So his aha moment, it wasn't about technical skills.
Yeah.
It was realizing that getting bigger shouldn't mean you sacrifice quality.
That's huge. Yeah.
And that became like the foundation, the bedrock of Foster Electric.
I see.
And it's a really good lesson for anyone, right? That sometimes seeing a gap in how things are done
Uh-huh.
can be an incredibly powerful motivator.
I like that. Yeah. So spotting a problem can lead to something great.
Totally.
And that desire to do things differently.
Yeah.
That's what led to the whole philosophy behind Foster Electric.
Right. So, okay, what's the vision?
The core idea was pretty straightforward, actually.
Okay, hit me with it.
Provide quality services
Solid start.
with professionalism and integrity.
Classic. I mean, who doesn't want that, right?
It does sound simple on the surface,
Mm-hmm.
but when you look deeper at what we've got here,
Yeah.
you start to see how intentionally Ted Foster wove those values into every part of his company.
Right, because it's one thing to say those words,
Uh-huh.
but it's a whole other thing to live them out day after day.
Totally.
So how do they actually do that, turn those words into action?
Well, from the very start,
Yeah.
there was this emphasis on trust, safety, and really making sure the customer was happy.
Okay, so not just a tagline on the website.
Right. It was more like this guiding force behind every decision,
Interesting.
from who they hired to how they handled each and every job.
Gotcha. So it's like baked into the company DNA from the start.
Exactly. And one thing that stood out to me
Yeah.
was that they were very deliberate about hiring skilled electricians,
Okay.
obviously,
You got to know your stuff.
but they also wanted people who understood good customer service.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a 2-for-1.
Yeah, like realizing that technical expertise is only part of the equation.
It's a service industry, right?
Yeah.
So how you interact with people matters a lot.
A lot, yeah.
I mean, I've had those experiences where the plumber, the electrician, whoever,
Uh-huh.
they might be great at their job, but they make you feel like you're bothering them.
Totally.
It's like, do I even want to call these guys again?
Exactly.
But if they can explain things clearly, make you feel comfortable. It makes a world of difference.
It does.
So it seems like Foster Electric knew that right from the get-go.
And this is really clear when you look at their motto, which is quality electrical services.
Okay. Straightforward.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's not just a slogan on their trucks.
Right. Got to go deeper than that.
From everything we've gathered, it's like this philosophy, this guiding principle behind everything they do.
I like that.
And something that really struck me about Ted Foster's approach is how much emphasis he puts on making sure customers actually get what's going on.
Okay, so no talking over their heads with jargon.
No overwhelming them with technical terms.
That's a good thing, because I've been in those situations where it's just like
Totally lost, yeah.
nodding along, pretending I understand what's happening.
Yeah, the flux capacitor sounds good.
Exactly, but inside you're like, what is even happening?
It's intimidating.
Totally.
And I think that just creates this distance
Right.
between the expert and the customer.
For sure. And Ted Foster, he seems to understand that.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we got to be transparent, build that trust by actually explaining things.
And the sources give a great example.
Oh, yeah.
Like the technicians, they're trained to actually take the time
Okay.
to walk the customer through what the problem is.
Right.
And then explain the solution in plain English.
That's huge because it turns this thing that could be stressful,
Yeah.
calling an electrician, right? Something is wrong.
Right, exactly. Into something where you feel like, okay, I'm informed.
Right. You're in the loop.
I'm respected.
You're not just a wallet they're trying to empty.
Exactly. And that just builds a whole different kind of relationship.
Absolutely. You're more likely to trust them, to call them back.
Yeah, exactly. Word of mouth, all that good stuff.
It all flows from that. So, okay, great vision, solid principles.
Yeah,
But then there's the whole, how do you scale that?
right.
Knoxville, Chattanooga, East Ridge, Marietta.
It's a lot.
It's not just one little shop anymore, so how do you keep those values as you grow?
Well, it's interesting how they approach that growth.
Okay, tell me.
One big thing was building really strong relationships with suppliers.
Okay, so this is behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, but in each area that they worked.
I see. So they're not relying on just one central source.
Right, so they're not getting bogged down by logistics.
Smart, because then you can actually focus on the work itself.
Yeah, being the electrician, not the delivery person.
Right. And think about it, having those connections
Yeah.
probably means better prices on materials, which they could pass on to the customer.
Right, savings for you.
Efficiency all around.
And that translates to potentially lower costs for the customer.
Exactly. And faster project completion.
Everyone wins.
Right. It shows that they're thinking ahead, thinking about how to make the whole thing run smoothly.
Yeah, it's impressive.
So it's like that commitment to quality and service. It's not just about the work itself. It's about how they run the entire operation.
And speaking of the services themselves.
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Foster Electric, under Ted, they cover a lot of ground.
Okay, break it down for me.
Residential, commercial, industrial, you name it.
So for the folks at home listening.
Yeah, if you're thinking about your house,
Uh-huh.
we're talking electrical panel upgrades, rewiring your whole house,
Big stuff.
even those things you might not think about as much, like troubleshooting electrical problems.
Right, when a light switch just stops working.
Exactly, or installing ceiling fans.
Oh, yeah, or light fixtures, all that.
Yeah, and they even do whole home surge protection.
Which is so important these days with all the electronics we have.
Absolutely, you don't want a power surge frying everything.
Nope.
And then, sometimes those code corrections, that can be so tricky.
Yeah, those can be a headache.
So they really covered all the bases for homeowners.
Sounds like it. Pretty comprehensive.
But then for businesses and industrial clients,
Okay, so scaling it up.
things get even more specialized.
Makes sense. Different needs.
They handle electrical installations and upgrades for businesses.
Okay, so like if a company's growing, needs more power.
Exactly. Or if they want to be more energy efficient.
Right. Sustainability is a big thing these days.
Huge. And then you get into things like fire alarm systems,
Essential.
emergency lighting,
I'll forget that.
backup power solutions.
Really critical for safety and, meeting those regulations.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is they also offer data communication systems.
Oh, wow. So they're staying current with how businesses operate today.
Yeah. And energy efficient lighting solutions.
Makes sense. Got to save money on those electricity bills.
It all adds up.
For sure. So it's not just about the raw power. It's about making it work smarter.
Exactly.
And then for industrial clients, this is where it gets really impressive.
Yeah, the big leagues.
Power distribution systems, transformer installations.
High voltage system maintenance.
That's a whole other level of expertise.
It is, and it shows they can handle those complex, large-scale projects.
Right. So they're not just the guys you call for a faulty outlet.
They can do it all.
They're the electrical Swiss Army knife.
I love that. The Swiss Army knife of electricians.
Multi-tool, ready for anything.
Exactly. And through it all, this is the constant theme in what we've found.
Okay, what's the thread that ties it all together?
Ted Foster's commitment to customer satisfaction.
So it all comes back to that.
It's everywhere. It's like this guiding principle behind everything they do.
And how do we see that in practice?
Well, a lot of their business comes from repeat customers
Okay, that's a good sign right there.
and word-of-mouth referrals.
Even better, you can't fake that.
No, you can't buy that kind of trust. It has to be earned.
Right, it's like the ultimate testimonial.
It is, and it shows that people are consistently happy with the service they're getting.
Yeah, you don't recommend someone you're not happy with.
Exactly.
And it's not just, the everyday stuff. They even have a 24-hour emergency response service.
Oh, wow. So if something goes wrong in the middle of the night,
They're there.
they're there for you.
That's going above and beyond.
It is, and it's those moments when something breaks and you're panicked
Right, you're vulnerable.
that you really see what a company's made of.
Totally, that's when they show their true colors.
And that responsiveness
Yeah.
just creates such strong relationships.
It's like, okay, I can rely on these guys.
You're not just a transaction, you're a person they care about.
And that's powerful. It builds loyalty that lasts.
And it's not just about the business itself.
Oh, what else is there?
Ted Foster, he's really active in the community,
Okay,
supporting charities, all that good stuff.
Nice.
And Foster Electric is a member of NECA.
Okay, for those who don't know, that's the National Electrical Contractors Association.
Exactly. And they have an A+ rating with the BBB.
The Better Business Bureau. Yeah, those aren't just random things.
No, they mean something.
They're indicators, right?
Of a certain standard.
Of commitment to doing things right.
Exactly.
So that NECA membership, it shows they're keeping up with industry best practices, always learning, always improving.
And the BBB rating, that's about how they handle customer issues.
Right. Ethical behavior, resolving complaints.
So it all adds to this picture of trustworthiness.
Absolutely. It reinforces that reputation.
And Ted Foster isn't the type to just rest on his laurels.
Oh, no. Always pushing forward.
It seems like he's really focused on the future of the electrical industry.
Interesting. So what's he got his eye on?
He's looking at incorporating energy-efficient technologies,
Makes sense. Got to be sustainable.
smart home solutions,
Oh, yeah. That's getting big.
and even renewable energy options.
Wow. So he's thinking long term.
He wants Foster Electric to be at the cutting edge.
That's forward thinking.
And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
The electrical industry is constantly changing.
Totally. You got to adapt to stay relevant.
And focusing on things like energy efficiency and smart homes.
Yeah.
It shows they're paying attention to what customers actually want.
Right. Meeting those evolving needs.
And that exploration of renewable energy systems, that's like a commitment to the future, to sustainability.
It's saying we're in this for the long haul.
Exactly. And he's also talking about expanding the business even more
Okay, so even bigger ambitions.
and doing more to educate customers about these new technologies.
So it's not just about installing them, it's about making sure people understand how to use them.
Exactly. It's that whole approach of empowering the customer.
I like that. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Ted Foster and Foster Electric,
Yeah, what are the big takeaways here? What should people be thinking about?
it really boils down to a few core things.
Okay.
Ted Foster had a vision right from the start. Clear as day, he knew what he wanted to build,
Right.
and he was unwavering in his dedication to quality,
Yeah.
both in the work itself and in truly understanding of what each customer needs.
It's not one size fits all.
Nope, it's tailored.
And then how he grew the business, it was strategic, it was thoughtful.
It wasn't just growth for growth's sake, it was about doing it right.
Exactly.
And that sense of responsibility, that was huge too.
Yeah, giving back to the community.
Upholding those high standards.
It all adds up to this picture of a business that's not just about profit.
Right, it's about doing good while doing well.
And it's inspiring to see that kind of approach actually succeed.
Because it shows that you can do both. You can be profitable and ethical.
Exactly. It's a really powerful example.
And as we think about everything we've learned here,
Yeah.
it really makes you realize that building a trusted business, it's not just about technical skills.
Right. It's about the whole package.
It's the integrity, that customer focus, that commitment to doing things the right way every time.
Every single time.
That's what sets you apart.
And this is what I'm finding so fascinating.
Yeah.
These principles, this integrity, this focus on understanding your customers and delivering quality, not just in electrical work, but in anything.
Right. It's a broader concept.
What if we applied that to other industries?
Oh, I like that. So thinking about how these same ideas
Yeah.
could work in healthcare and education, even in something like the arts.
Totally. What does it mean to build that kind of trust
Yeah.
and deliver lasting value no matter what you're doing?
That's a great question for everyone listening to ponder.
It is something to think about.
How can we take these lessons from Ted Foster and apply them to our own lives?
Exactly. Our own work, our own interactions with others.
It's about more than just wiring a house. It's about wiring trust.
I love that. That's a perfect way to put it.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.